Hi, my name's Hailie. When I first started taking this class, I didn't really know a ton about curriculum and all the different types and the components to it. I really had only visited the Saskatchewan curriculum website like once or twice before, so my view has definitely broadened since taking this class. So, the first thing that we really touched on in class was about Kumashiro's common sense. And I always thought that common sense was basically like common sense things like look both ways before crossing the road or put on your seatbelt when driving and so on and so forth. I had a really narrow view on common sense, really. So in the article, we read one thing that stood out to me, and that was that Kumashiro talked about how the exam approach to teaching has become so ingrained in the practices of Nepal's schools, and it's as to become part of common sense. Really, my take on that was that them to them common sense was to have midterms and exams instead of like projects and assignments. And just by reading the article, it gave me kind of like a new perspective on how I want to implement curriculum in my classroom. So, another big topic that I know we talked about and discussed was on Tyler's rationale and what that is and his view on curriculum. So, with like curriculum as a product, process, and praxis, that really opened my eyes on how I want to implement curriculum in my classroom. I'm absolutely pro curriculum as process and praxis. I think it's so important for students to work their way through the problems instead of just focusing on the end result. So I think it's way more important for students to do the process of the work. I think that's the most important part instead of focusing on the product that comes out. I also want my classroom to be very experiential when it comes to learning and doing like fun activities that the students will be engaged in, and that will get them to the end result. But in a way, and saying in that, I don't want the end result just to be through quizzes and exams. So, another topic that we talked about was on the good student, really what makes the student good and all that kind of stuff. I took this as earlier on in the education system, the good student was one who sat quietly, right? They didn't really answer any questions, they didn't question the teacher, and basically just regurgitated the information that the teacher gave them. The bad student was one who thought in different and unique ways and basically strayed away from the traditional learning. I think in today's society that it's almost opposite. It's almost backwards in a sense. Like, I know that in my classroom, I would hope for my students to ask questions. I want them to have their own unique way of learning. And after all, not every student is going to be exactly the same, right? So that was kind of my take on Kumashiro's common sense and basically the good student and what makes the student good. So another huge topic that we talked about this semester was on implementing treaty education in our classrooms. I loved this topic. I thought it was really fun to learn about and exciting. But honestly, before this class, I never even knew what treaty education was. And I guess that goes to say kind of what the education system that I grew up in is. I guess it shows what the education system that I grew up in is. And basically, just by learning about treaty ed made me realize how important it is to implement treaty ed in my classroom. When Claire presented us with the phrase, "we're all treaty people," I was really confused. I didn't really get how me as a white woman could even be considered a treaty person. I thought that was basically just strictly towards First Nations, Aboriginal, Métis people. And so I didn't really get how I would be considered a treaty person. So then she told us that we're all treaty people because we live basically on treaty land and we're members of Treaty 4. And after that, it kind of all made sense. So that was pretty cool. I also really loved having Claire present to us. I thought it was awesome. She was like, to me, she was the highlight of our semester. I loved all the ideas she showed us in her own classroom, and I especially loved how she said that as a new teacher, like you're going to make mistakes and that's okay, because that's definitely one thing that I worry about when I become a teacher. So the last topic that I thought was pretty important to this course also was when we talked about race and racism and culture. In class, we all know that Mike basically called everyone racist, and truthfully, I kind of had to agree with him. Like, I never really questioned it. I kind of knew everyone was racist in a sense. And as much as I wanted to say that I wasn't racist, I mean really, everyone has said things in their life that have been racist or didn't mean to. And I mean just having, like last year I had a Chinese friend, and that in a sense that doesn't make me non-racist just because I had a different cultured friend. So just kind of like things like that everyone thinks maybe you're not racist because you have those things, but you, in a sense, everyone is. So, yeah, in class we all know Mike said that to us, and I think it definitely upset some people. But yeah, it was kind of like I liked that he pointed that out to everybody just to get everyone thinking and stuff. So in class, I had Katya in my class, and so we went on the screen and basically looked at pictures of people, of different like cultured people. And then we basically were to categorize those people according to like their race. And I did this in class. I did this in my high school once before, so I kind of knew that the end result was going to be different than what we expect. So doing that really opened my eyes to like what how like what we do as people and how we judge people just by their hair color and their skin color and their eyes, like, which is, we shouldn't do that. It's not, I wouldn't want anybody to judge me on my look, or I wouldn't want anybody to say, oh, like, she's white so she must be pretty racist, like stuff like that kind of thing. And I think it's so sad that like we fear Muslim people and everything when like they walk down the street, or we fear First Nations people. That shouldn't happen. I just don't think that's right. So in the end, I think as a future teacher that it's so important to realize that there will be so many different cultured students in my class, and to really just get to know those students and get to know what they like and their sensitivities, and being able to teach those cultures openly is important. So those are basically the main points that I focused on in this class. There's obviously other topics that we talked about, but these were the ones that really stuck with me. So after all, my views and perceptions are basically on these topics have broadened over the course, and I feel so much more knowledgeable and certain about me, about what I should be teaching and to implement things in my classroom. So thanks for listening and have a good day.